Hey guys, welcome back to another Unearth'D video where we help you embrace your crown and protect your energy. So today, as I'm combing out my locks, I thought it would be quite fitting to talk about what my first set of locks have taught me. I had my first set of locks for, oh, how many years was it? 3 years, 3 years and I think 2 months. I started taking out my first set of locks on the 10th of January and that 2022, and I started them in 2018, November 24th, 2018. So yeah, it's been 3 years. And yeah, I thought I'll come on and share with you guys what my first set of locks have taught me, physically, I mean about the locks themselves, and also spiritually, personally, and all that jazz. Just what how I've grown with my first set of locks. Okay, so the first thing that my locks taught me in the very first stage, and this is more of a spiritual thing that it taught me, was that my beauty comes from within instead of the things that I put on myself or I do to myself. For example, doing my hair, putting on makeup. I really felt during those starter lock phases that I sort of gain a new consciousness within myself instead of using external factors. For example, I didn't do any meditating or any crystal work or anything like that, but I still felt like a heightened sense of consciousness, just because it made me realize that all these external factors don't matter or don't actually have an impact on my confidence, on my long-term confidence. I mean, I can put on this makeup, wear nice clothes, but then when I take them off, I'll still feel like, oh my gosh, like the confidence is gone once they're stripped away. But I feel like my locks allowed me to gain that confidence naturally in my natural self, my natural form. The second thing that it's taught me is to have patience. I am a very impatient person. When I want things done, I want it done now, or not even now, I want it done yesterday. So locks have definitely taught me patience, because from day to day you can't really see the difference. It's only over the months that you see the difference, and you do have to, it takes a while for your hair to lock up and it may seem like it's doing nothing, but then you start to reap the rewards of being patient and trusting the process when you have these luscious, amazing locks. And yeah, I would say, I don't know if I'm more patient, but I definitely, in other places in my life, I'm starting to trust the process more and appreciate the process, appreciate the journey. Another thing that it taught me was that I am not in control. I love to control things so much, and having locks has definitely taught me that it's not everything that you can control, and sometimes the fact that you can't control it is good, and sometimes it doesn't need your control. Sometimes things work out better without your control, and to let go of certain things instead of having to be on top of everything. So moving more on to the physical things, like about my locks, how I care for them and all that jazz. So this is like, that was on the comb, the hair that was on the comb there, not a lot. So yeah, anyways, yeah, so from my starter locks, I've realized that you start with, well, in terms of me, what I experienced, I mean, everyone's experience is different. So what I experienced was that your locks start off thin. Well, my locks started off thin, like this thin, the same thickness that these twists are now. That is how my locks started out. And then they shrunk and they got frizzy and thick. And oh, I loved it. I loved the thickness, I love the frizz, I love the lumps, I love the bumps. But then as they get more mature, they start to get more compact. And then those lumps and bumps and the frizz, they do go away eventually. And I found that when the lumps and bumps and the frizz went away, my locks were on the thinner side that I didn't like. I liked how big they were when they were frizzy and when they were when they weren't so mature. I really liked how thick they were. And that's one of the reasons why I'm combing out my locks. Yeah, so I feel like I did them too small. And on top of that, as your locks get longer, they start to grow thin because the weight of the hair pulls it down more, so they're not as thick. So now that I know that, the next set of locks that I'm going to do will take into account that. So I'm going to do them bigger than what I want, so that when they are mature and when I've had them for several years, they're not on the thin side. So I want to make sure that the base is strong enough, is big enough to carry those locks long term. Locks are less maintenance, but they're not no maintenance. I thought that I didn't have to wash my hair. I thought I didn't have to do anything. Like I could just have the locks on my head and that was it. So I wasn't washing them as frequently as I should. And even when wash day did come around, I would put it off. So I would aim to wash my locks every 3 weeks, once a month. And sometimes that time will come around and I'll just be so busy, so I wouldn't. So this set of locks, the new set of locks, I'm definitely going to be washing my locks every 2 weeks. And in between that, I will be wetting my hair once a week, just to help with the buildup, especially in the back 3 rows or the back 1.5 rows. It's ridiculous. But someone on Instagram actually said that it's the shampoo and the method used to shampoo. So it's better if you flip your locks over and then shampoo like that, so that the shampoo doesn't just build up at the back. So once a week I will be wetting it and I'll be focusing on the back locks, just agitating it a little bit so that the buildup doesn't have time to solidify in there. And yeah, I'm going to be taking a much better care of those back locks. It was something that I struggled with for all of my journey. At points where I did take care of those back locks, they were amazing and they hardly had any buildup. So yeah, I need to remember that locks means less maintenance, but not necessarily no maintenance. And yeah, that's a hard one to sort of keep up with sometimes, but I need to make sure that I am. At least wetting my hair when I go in the shower, that's easy enough. Even if I don't shampoo it on a regular basis, just wetting it will help with removing any buildup and making sure the buildup doesn't get locked in there. Just to enjoy my journey, it is quite difficult not to compare your locks with another set of locks, because my hair is quite thin, quite fine, and sometimes I'll see another lockhead and she has beautiful hair and is so voluminous and so thick, and her hair comes out like here. But I need to remember that my hair is a different texture, it's a different density. So even if I look at hers, I'm like, oh, I want locks like that, I probably won't ever have locks like that because my hair type is completely different to hers. Another thing that I learned from my first set of locks was that your parting system does go off a little bit the longer you have your lock. I was quite worried or concerned about my parting system and I wanted it to be perfect. My parts have gone all over the place, so has my husband's. It's just a thing that happens, I don't know why. So I would say making sure that you have a good foundation is good, but don't get stressed so much about the parting system and about them being perfect. I mean, I say this now, but when I start my second set of locks, I want to make sure the parts start nicely and I want to try and maintain them. But I have learned that I may not be able to maintain them. I will try my best, but for my first set of locks, I have learned that it will probably change. On from the less maintenance, not no maintenance, I wasn't moisturizing my locks as often as I should have. There was sometimes weeks would go by and I wouldn't touch my locks. I mean, it is hard because of kids, work, home, husband, but I do need to make some time to look after myself, to look after my locks, and make sure that I'm doing that consistently. So my next set of locks, I will be making sure that I'm caring for them more. Another thing that I learned from my first set of locks was testing out products. I am a water and oil type of lockhead. So when I am retwisting, I use spray water and I use oil to retwist. I've never really used gel. I use aloe vera gel straight from the leaf and that worked quite well, but then I was noticing I was getting quite a bit of build up from that. But then it may not have been the aloe vera gel, actually. It may have been because I wasn't washing my locks often enough. So I may go back to that aloe vera gel because it was bomb. The hold was amazing. And just make sure that I'm washing more frequently. So actually, I was going to say that testing out products, using different products, try and stray away from that. But I would say if you are testing out products, then just make sure you're washing your locks frequently. Because there was times when I'll try out different products for my locks and I'll get a lot of buildup, or the products just didn't work. And then I'll just go back to the OGs, the basics, and it all worked great. So yeah, I would say testing out products, make sure you're washing your locks frequently in case it does cause buildup. Oh, one thing that I don't know if it's something that I learned, I wish I would have done with my first set of locks, was dye it before I started. So if my next set of locks, I will be dyeing my hair before I start. Just because I feel like the way that the coloured hair, well, what I want is sort of an ombre look. So I don't want a line, or I won't do all the way to my roots so that when it grows out there's just a line where you can see that I dye my hair. I love ombre. I've always loved ombre, and anytime I dye my hair, it's ombre. So I just find that as your hair grows out and your hair locks, when you dye your hair before you lock, you get a better ombre effect. And that's the main reason. It's such a silly reason, but that's my reason. So I will be dyeing my hair before I put them in locks. I'll probably be dyeing it quite close to the roots, but not to the roots. And I'll do ombre until we get to quite close to the roots, so that when it does lock, because all the strands sort of lock differently at the beginning stage, and some are stretched, some are really shrunken. So if I dye it beforehand, then I'll get more of an ombre look when they do start to lock. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm definitely going to do. And dyeing your locks can be a bit of a difficult process. I find it's easier if you just do it on your loose natural hair before you lock your hair. So I'm going to be doing that, and I think once I do dye it, I won't be dyeing it again anytime soon until I want to go back to black, until I want my locks black. Another thing that I've learned from my first set of locks is that going a long time without a retwist isn't for everybody. It doesn't necessarily make your locks thicker depending on your hair type. So I went a good 4 months without retwisting my locks, and I got a lot of breakage. So for my next set of locks, I'll probably be retwisting every 6 weeks. Every 4 to 6 weeks. Maximum 8 weeks. But I won't leave it 4 months. That was very, very long. And I think it was too long for my locks. So yeah, that's things that I've learned from my first set of locks. I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's anything that you've learned from your locks, whether it is the physical properties of your locks, or if it is spiritually, personally, emotionally, whatever it is, leave them down below. I would love to hear from you guys, and yeah, I'll see you guys in another video. Bye guys, stay sweet.